We can run this short video and then we'll start.
Industrial revolution, a revolution that changed the course of human civilization. It added many possibilities to our lives, gave us machines that made our life luxurious, gadgets that kept us connected even in these testing times of the pandemic. But on the other hand, it made us rely heavily on traditional mining, more natural resources, and thus deteriorating our environment. Today, we use more resources than the earth can provide. As we move forward with technological advancements, we are relying more and more on these natural resources. With dependency rising every hour, we are facing a huge challenge that demands a rightful solution. That's where Greenscape comes in, with a belief that circular revolution would be the next big one after the Industrial Revolution.
This is Mr. Kumar.
Hi, I'm Jivesh, an individual driven by the will to leave this planet in a better state than what we got by solving one of the biggest challenges faced by humankind. I incepted Greenscape, an urban mining company with a focus on extracting scarce, valuable commodities from the fastest growing waste stream, electronic waste. Do you know, globally, we generate 50 million metric tons of electronic waste annually, which is equal to 4,500 Eiffel Towers. At Greenscape, we see your obsolete, surplus electronics and IT products from a very different perspective. We believe the life of products is cradle to cradle instead of life to death, therefore making them drivers of a circular economy instead of a linear economy. When we entered into the industry, the collection and processing of electronic waste was only limited to informal players. They didn't know how to handle the products as they lacked technical competence and scientific acumen. As a result, the retrieved commodities were of less value. Hence, the manufacturer lacked confidence in utilizing them in their process. To make this an efficient process and to help...
We are showing this because this is actually the largest segment which needs very high attention in terms of how do we recycle this e-waste.
Helping them, forming the right relationship and showing them the path to generate more income.
So we will be, I hope, producing more e-waste than any plastic, metal or others. Metal may be more, but second would be e-waste.
Drives and CPUs. At the center of all the action is our R2 certified state-of-the-art recycling facility, built in convergence with the United Nations Sustainable Development Goals. A discarded electronic asset is a resource for regenerating metals, plastics, rare earth metals, oil and gas, which can be used as secondary raw materials. After collecting the electronic waste, the next step is to shred and sort the electronic waste. Sorting is a labor-intensive process, as waste items are categorized into core materials and components to retrieve different elements. Strong magnets are used to remove ferrous metals, such as steel, and eddy current separators are used to retrieve non-ferrous metals. Our recycling mantra is recovering maximum metals, safe capture of greenhouse gases, and extracting every inch of the resources available in their most pure form. The secondary raw materials produced by Greenscape are of the highest purity index. These high-value, upscale final commodities have been utilized by specific industries, contributing to resource security and adding confidence to our clients. This has been made possible by a robust pan-India network and strategically located innovative hubs. We work to reincarnate metals so that you can continue to prosper with new age innovations and gadgets. We are committed to carbon.
I'll request Dr. Ashok Kumar to further this, sharing the experience of e-waste, the learnings for the upcoming tire and rubber recycling industry. Over to you, sir.
Good afternoon, ladies and
Reality
gentlemen,
promote.
my friends on the panel, and Mr. Akram, who has organized this conference. After 2.5 years of pandemic, we have seen the movement of the people were restricted, and the movement was not there. However, he has organized a lot of virtual conferences and helped the industry, the various stakeholders, and we are thankful to him again. And it's really a pleasure to be part of this conference. However, I am not into the tire recycling, but I will put through few statistics which will be very important for you people to understand why recycling, why EPR, and why we should do the recycling. The developed world has put us into a state of emergency now. The COP26, you understand what has been going on. If I take last 150 years, the world has emitted 2,500 billion metric ton of carbon dioxide. How to capture, which is still in the air. 2,500 billion metric ton is a very huge quantity of carbon dioxide. And 18% of the population in the last 150 years has emitted 60% of the carbon dioxide. And why? Because they did industrialization in their countries, whether it is Europe, Canada, America, or the West. When they did this industrialization, we suffered, the developing countries and the poor countries. And at our cost, they have developed their own industries, big projects, and they are advanced in their technologies. So the need of the hour is how to control the climate change, how to capture the carbon dioxide, and how to save our future generation. The EPR and the recycling will only help in that direction. If we don't do recycling and if we are dependent on our natural resources, which are depleting year by year. In the last 30 years, we have gone from 1.15 billion metric ton of natural resources to $30 billion, which will be doing 30 billion tons, metric tons by 2030, which is a very huge quantity if we are taking it out from the earth, from the fossils and others. If we don't restrict that, the carbon emissions will keep on going and our future children, our future generations will suffer. This is the time that whatever we have done in the last few years has to take the certain corrective actions. So the government of India in 2011 has brought e-waste rules a step further towards recycling into electronic waste. The worldwide, as Jivesh has informed, that 53 million metric ton of e-waste is generated. And India, the third largest e-waste generators. They generate about 3 million metric ton of electronic waste. So it has to have some recycling so that we can capture the carbon dioxide. Every 1 ton of steel, if it is produced from the electronic waste, captures 1.5 5 metric ton of carbon dioxide. And that's the reason Honorable Prime Minister has constituted 11 committees on the recycling, and I was part of the Committee on Circular Economy on E-Waste as member with the Niti Aayog and with the MOEF and Ministry of Electronics and IT. There was tire, there was rubber, there was wood also, and they are also going for lithium-ion batteries as well. So this is very important statistics for you people to understand why I should do recycling. What is the use of recycling? It is the need. It is the need for our future. And it's an opportunity for Government of India as well. For India, we can definitely make in next few years, say about 15 years, we can have 11 trillion through this recycling business, because we only generate 2.38 billion metric ton of carbon dioxide. The world generates 35 billion metric tons of carbon dioxide every year, which cannot be captured. So what we should do, we have to have green technologies, whether it is solar power, we should leave our fossil powers. We should not be dependent on the fossil fuels. Otherwise, we cannot control the temperatures. If the climate change is to happen, there will be a lot of problems. There is a shortage of chips. There is a shortage of electronic equipments, items, because there is a lot of problem, because nobody is going to recycle. The Europe has started recycling and they have achieved for 70%. India is still at a very nascent stage of 20%, 30%, because the recycling was not in the hands of the formal sector. There was no sound management of handling the recycling with the proper equipments, with proper technology. So what has happened? The informal sector in the last 50 years have been doing all the recycling. Whether you accept it or not, whether it is e-waste, whether it is tire, whether it is batteries, whether it is lead acid batteries. So the government woke up in 2011 and brought the new e-waste rules, which was implemented in a perfect condition in 2016 only. And in the last few years, the e-waste recycling has matured. Earlier, the formal sector was doing 8-10% of the recycling. Now it has gone to 40%. And with this new EPR rules, which has come on 19th May 2022, the thrust is on the producers and on the recyclers. That producers like, you name all multinational companies who are producing consumer durables. I need not to tell you that Samsung, LG, Havells, and Blue Star, Godrej, all these people are manufacturing huge quantity of consumer durables. And now the government has put them into a right bracket and they have told them it's your duty to take care of the hazardous waste, take care of the electronic waste which is coming out of it. So now they have said that from 22, 23, 60% of the production which you have taken in the last few years has to be recycled. So why? Why it should be recycled? Because this mobile phones or consumer durables have been importing hazardous waste. They have been bringing lot of waste from other part of the world, China or other part, and it is dumped in India in the shape of a lot of consumer durables, electronics, whether it is mobile, whether it is laptops, whether it is desktop, all these have certain hazardous waste. My friend has said that he has worked on ROHS. Yes, the government wants that ROHS to come into force because we have to reduce the hazardous waste in every product and we have to make it very, very small. So this is very important at this point that we have to adopt to the recycling. Recycling is being carried out, but not in a very formal manner. It has to be environment-friendly sound management system on which the recycling has to take place. People will say that the tire has been recycled from the day one. Yes, it is recycled, no doubt about it. But where it is going? Who is taking care of the traceability of each tire? that where it is being burnt, where the tire is going and where it is reaching, and who is doing the recycling, whether the gases are being captured in a proper way or still it is being flared up in the air. So then if we do it in an informal sector, definitely the gases will flare up in the air and still carbon dioxide or sulfur oxide or other things will come out of it. So my humble request to this audience is that let's take a pledge that whatever we produce, we should not send it to the landfill nor misuse this product. It has resource. And it has a resource of the greatest value. Say for instance, e-waste. If I have a 20 metric ton of PCB board, I can recover 1 kg of gold. And when we have 3 million tons of electronic waste, you can easily calculate what will be the gold we should not import and don't pay money back to the other part of the world. So we have so much huge quantity lying with us on the precious metals. So to recover these precious metals, we have to recycle, whether it is tire, lithium, lead, or electronic waste. Tire is also not a different product as compared to the other resource. It has a resource, but it has to be captured in a very technological manner. I said that the climate change can give us 11 trillion opportunity. If we don't do recycling now, we will lose $35 trillion of our resources in the next 30 years. So it is the need of the hour that we have to save these losses and we have to get this 11 trillion from the other part of the world so that we can export carbons to them. We can give them carbon footprints, emissions, which we have captured. So the recycling has become very, very important for this part of the world. The government of India is also thinking to have their own carbon market. Suppose if 1 ton of tire is recycled, can you imagine how much carbon you can capture? 1.07 metric ton of 1 ton of tire, if it is recycled, we can capture 1.07 metric ton of carbon emissions we can stop. And how much tires are being produced and generated every year? 1.5 billion tires are being generated as a waste worldwide. And the Indian government, India has 6% share in it. So how much it is and how much carbons we can capture by recycling? This is the major thrust. This is the major important thing. To save our future generations, we have to capture the carbon. And, you know, if we have already seen in the slides, India is the 5th largest producer and the 4th largest consumer of natural rubber. If we reduce burden on the rubber and if we are able to recycle and reuse the tire which is coming out of, or the material which is coming out, and the government is willing, because I was with the Niti Aayog and they said, if any government, if any industry is able to use 25%, they will be given a green certificate in manufacturing their tires. So all these things helps a lot. And I'll give you a very small example of the chevron. Then I will stop my discussion on it. And it is, I'll give you a point to discuss, think about, that the chevron has started a project 3 years back. And it is called carbon capturing and storage. The chevron itself has done 6 million metric ton of carbon capturing in the last 1 year, and they are saying that they will go up to 100 million metric ton of carbon capturing in next 7 years. So they will become absolutely net neutral on the carbon. So how they are doing the capturing? They are on one side they are emitting the carbon, and on one side they are capturing the carbon. They take it out the carbon out of the air, they store it, and then they inject it in the earth so that it can be destroyed. Otherwise, you know, you all are technical people, you understand the carbon cannot be stored, cannot be wasted, cannot go out of the air. So this is the way they have followed. Honorable Prime Minister has said that 2070 we will be net zero. On what basis he said? He said that I will enforce recycling. Why these laws are coming so fast? And it is being implemented very carefully and very, very fast. We only generate 2.78 billion tons of carbon, which we can be neutralized by 2030. And then we can also become a net zero by 2070. So these few issues which will help us and will help the EPR, and economy and the environment has to go together. So that is the reason all these issues which I have brought to your kind notice is to be reviewed, to be discussed. Everybody says that 6 hours, 7 hours, 8 hours, it's fine. But there is 1 hour that is called review. How we are doing the recycling in India. The review is important. It can be 9 hours, it can be 10 hours, but the review, the last word should be review, that how much carbon emissions we are stopping by recycling. So I will stop at this. These are the issues which are for your consideration. And on the EPR front, we can always answer you on electronic waste or even on the tire, and it will be my pleasure to have it from you anytime. Thank you very much.